The most important skill for any business that wins a market is this ability to understand what the customer actually does before, during, and after the transaction. And when you get clear about the jobs to be done, you then start to understand, okay, what are the things that the customer is going to go through that might be like a happy moment, an anxious moment, or a sad moment? And how do we engineer our experience to push the customer so they just completely avoid the sad moment or through the anxious moment and get them back to the happy moments as quickly as we can? And let's think a little bit about it, right? So you're a buyer right now and you decide that you want to go and buy a house. That is a happy moment. The next key thing after that, you then go online, you find the house you want to buy. Also a happy moment. The next thing that happens after that is that all of a sudden you turn up to that open for inspection and you see a ton of competition. All of a sudden that is an anxious moment. You ask the agent, hey, do you think I'd be able to put forward an offer? And the agent kind of discourages offers and instead suggests that you should wait until auction day. That's kind of a sad moment. The next day, the real estate agent rings you, says, oh, look, we've changed our tune. We're now accepting offers early. All of a sudden, that's an anxious moment. You put forward an offer. That's a happy moment. Then what happens after that? They ring you the next day to say, hey, look, you're now in a multi-offer situation. That's like an anxious and a sad moment all at the same time. Then all of a sudden, you increase your offer. That's an anxious moment. And then after that, they then ring you and say, congratulations, your offer has now been accepted. That's a happy moment. And you see, the basic idea here is that if you actually understand, what am I about to say? How is it going to impact the customer? What are they going to see, feel, and experience through this particular moment? And how do I design a set of customer experiences around that to kind of avoid those situations happening, or to at least anticipate that it's going to happen next, to be able to manage the emotions of the customer in the way that we got to do the work? And this is absolutely astounding. At Disneyland, right, you go to get on a ride, and when you go to get on the ride, it says wait time 20 minutes. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, 20 minutes to line up through the ride, and okay, I'll go and do it. And then literally you get through the line in 10 minutes and you turn to your kids or you turn to your partner and you're like, honey, how quick was that? You jump on the ride, you have a great experience on the ride. And you say, oh, that was amazing. And you completely forget that you even spent 20 minutes actually lining up to get onto the ride. And this is what you've got to start thinking about it, is that the reality of is inside of a state agency, that the vendor reserve meeting prior to the day of the auction, that's kind of like the anxious moment. So that then we can make sure that we manufacture a really happy moment when we actually get to the day of the sale on auction day. And this is such an important part about, rather than training dialogues and tactics, what we've really got to start to do is start to train experiences. So what does the customer actually go through? How do we anticipate that? How do we meet unmet needs? How do we identify unidentified needs? How do we satisfy unsatisfied needs? And do it in such a way that someone says, that was seriously good in working with those people. The challenge with our industry is that we're very good at R&D, rip off and duplicate. We see what someone else does and then we do it. And you look at how quickly that floods across the industry. When all of a sudden we had to go to digital auctions, in seconds it was across the industry. And this is that whole idea, whilst we're really good at that, who's actually the innovator that is the person that's out in front that really, instead of watching what others are doing inside of our industry, looks at other industries around what customer experiences are, because their experience in different places is now their minimum experience of what they expect to get from a real estate agent. And this is that whole idea, is that now what we've got to start doing is we've got to train customer moments. What are the challenges that people go through? How do we make sure that we go and solve them in new and better ways? And if you do that, not only do you win a market, you actually allow customer experience to be your number one marketing engine, because one customer satisfied really well leads you to your next customer.